democracy.
Thanks for letting me borrow that. Get going.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. At this time, I have the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand, please. I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to have a motion to recommend approval of the minutes of the 792nd meeting held on 11/18/99 as circulated.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any comments? All those in favor, was made by Mangle, second by Shapinsky. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Abstain.
One abstention. So ordered, I should say. It was corrected by the solicitor. Recommend approval of the minutes of the 34th annual reorganization meeting held on 12/6/99 as circulated.
Second.
Mr. Gordon and Mr. O'Donnell. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So ordered. Before we go to the committee reports, I want to move ahead in the agenda on BA3 to item number 5. And I'd like a motion to recommend approval of the North Bend School District's Board of the School Directors Committee assignments for the year 2000. Frank Mangle. Is there a second?
Second.
Frank O'Donnell. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So ordered.
No.
One no?
Yes, one no.
Bill Allen. I'm going to go through the committee reports, and if you'll notice, the committee reports are by the committee members who were in the last year, who were the chairman of those committees. At the end of their report, I would like the new chairman of the committee to indicate when he is or she is going to hold their next committee meetings, or what their schedule is for committee meetings. So starting with that, support services, Mr. Shelley.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. The Facilities Department personnel have been busy preparing critical building systems in our buildings for potential Y2K bug problems. The Support Services Committee continues to work with the Safe Schools Task Force to endeavor to make appropriate recommendations to enhance the safety of our buildings and properties for our students and staff. Support staff administrators have solicited requests for proposals from architects and engineers for Year 1 and Year 2 capital improvement projects. Also, the full school board should be aware that the Talmadge Township has advised us that they will be proceeding to widen Summingtown Pike adjacent to North Bend High School. This widening will necessitate our moving the main electrical substation and transformer that currently exists there during the summer of 2000. The cost of the move will be borne by the township. The cost of any upgraded equipment needed for this project would be borne by the school district. Our first support services meeting of the year will be January 24th at 6 o'clock. After that, it will be the last Monday of every month at 6 o'clock. End of report.
Repeat that date for me, the first meeting.
January 24th,
January 24th.
at 6 o'clock, and after that, it'll be the last Monday of every month at 6 o'clock.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Shelley?
Are all of the security systems now coming through support services, the recommendations under support
That's my
services?
understanding, yes.
The new ones that are on this agenda?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, are we going to be able to have dialogue when they come forward? Because we canceled, the work session was canceled, and these are new to the board
You
as a
can
whole.
have dialogue on any item that comes
Yeah,
forward.
you always
Oh, well, I
do.
just want you to know, because you're usually very quick about this, so stop.
Would I be quick?
No, Mr. Hill.
This is new business. We didn't have it at the board of the whole meeting.
Yeah,
so
she'll
I
have time
some
to talk about
questions.
every item as it comes forward.
There's like 3 or 4 different items that are real new to us.
Yes. Educational services, Mr. Shapinsky.
We have no Educational Services Committee meeting for November. It was scheduled on the recommendation of the administration, so we have no report tonight. There is one item that was under Educational Services, which is the cable-in bid for our technology program, and that'll be open tonight, and we recommend that you approve it.
Terry, do you have?
And the, nothing to add to that. The next meeting will be Tuesday evening, January 25th at 7 p.m.
Very good.
At your house?
Hey, that would really solve the babysitting problem.
Finance,
I'll
does
do it.
anybody have any questions for either chairman? Hearing none, moving along to finance, Mr. O'Donnell.
Normally, we have the minutes prepared to talk about the future meeting. In this case, we don't have it because we're not going to have a meeting in December. We will have I've already discussed this with the members of the Finance Committee, and we've tentatively agreed on the next meeting to be on the last Monday of the month at 7 p.m. This will be right after, I believe, support services. So we'll have two meetings on the same night, but the next meeting should be on Monday, 7 p.m. on the 31st. Some of the items we talked about at our last meeting were the finance department was to get online now the entire budget payroll system, so that now we shouldn't have any problem going forth, and our budget process should be significantly easier because we can now estimate using the Panamation system. There were two lists presented on the next item. We talked about budgetary reserve transfers. The controller came up with a list of about 350,000 transfers, $350,000 in transfers, and I came up with my own list of about 700,000. So the administration right now, or the finance department, is working on looking at reducing the current year budget by about $1 million. As soon as the controller and the finance director review those items, we should be transferring at least $1 million back to the budgetary reserve, because that was based on if everybody remembers, last year's budget was based on 11 months actual, 1 month estimate, and I believe we're about $1 million over. So as soon as they go through that, that should be coming forth the next month's meeting to transfer that back to the budgetary reserve. We also discussed the investment analysis and where's our extra money going. And what I'm going to start asking for, starting in January, is where initially when we get the $80 to $90 million up front from taxes, that a summary be distributed to board members so we can see that we're getting the highest interest rate for our money, because I understand there's 3 or 4 areas where we can invest the money, and we want to make sure that we're getting the most for our money. Sometimes out of sight, out of mind, but I want to see it. We also discussed the engagement of the Maley Falconero Company, who does our audit. That's on the agenda for approval tonight, and that's about it. Anybody have a question?
No question, just a comment. Mr. O'Donnell, I see that you have for us this evening something that you've been working on for some time now with Jim Sowers, and want to thank you in advance, because I know that during the last term that this was a part of assignment I knew that you fellows were on, and these food service reports are great. Glad that they've been coordinated with Jim and with Dottie, and appreciate you getting out ahead of the curve.
Yes, it's on their Peachtree system, and I've been asking for it, and
Right.
and Jim finally produced it. So,
I know it's been on your agenda for some time, and it's good to see it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Do you happen to remember how much money we put in the budget as expected revenue from interest income?
No, I don't.
$2.6 million.
Right.
How much, Jim?
$2,600,000.
Okay,
Can you
2.2.
tell us if you think we'll be close to that number by the end of the fiscal year?
I think we'll exceed that number.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Frank, I need the date of the first meeting. I got last Monday. Do we have a date on that I can put down?
I'm sorry.
Do we know?
I was looking at the calendar. What we want to do is on last Monday, typically the finance meeting was held on the last Tuesday.
Right.
We want to have as few night owls as possible. So what we've talked about is the last Monday of the month at 7 o'clock.
At 7 p.m.
At 7 o'clock. Now, I just made a comment that would do the 31st.
That is the last Monday.
You wanted it to follow support services.
Well, I thought you said, what's the next one?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. For this particular January, looking at the calendar here to follow support services, it'll be on the 24th.
24th to 7 o'clock
So,
following.
The 24th,
In other words, you're following exactly what we have with support services. You'll be the 24th, but an hour later at 7 PM, and then after that, it'll
We
be
wanna have-
support services and then
Right.
finance.
It makes sense to be out 2
I
nights
got
a
you.
week instead of...
I just wanted to be clear on those dates. I think it was confusing.
But you're going to switch to, after the 24th, you're going to the last Monday.
That's the intent,
Right,
to
which
try
is
to go
what
back.
support services do.
Yeah, Unless we see, Vince and I talked about this, there are 1 or 2 months out there that you have the first of the month, like January, that we could be back to back. That's why we're moving it up a week. But for the most part, I think it's October.
What do you mean back to back?
Well, what I'm saying is the last Monday of the month,
From February on.
right, like the last Tuesday of the month would be the week before. And I think we've talked about having just a Monday and Tuesday night out.
I recommend at the first meeting of finance, we set a calendar for everybody.
Right. And
Same,
we'll discuss
all
that,
committees.
and we'll have specific dates for that, and hopefully then it'll be properly advertised.
Right now, it's on January 24th.
Right, right now, it's January 24th at 7 PM,
You said the 31st.
instead of the 31st, right.
That's
One
simple.
other question, on this Como Volunteer Fire Company, we had some dialogue before because of it establishing a precedent and going beyond the municipalities themselves to the other agencies,
Vicki,
other tax, did you discuss?
you're jumping the gun a little bit, but one of the things when we come under the volunteer fire company, any organization that is tax exempt must present I'm gonna make a motion tonight, that if anybody, any tax exempt organization wants money back, they must present a copy of their letter of determination, quote unquote. Then that would prove that they are a tax exempt organization. I have no problem giving it back. I had asked for this thing the last time, I believe it's the fire company, another organization came before us, and I had mentioned, I'd like to see the letter of determination. I don't know what happened, it's back on the agenda. I'm gonna ask you that this actually be tabled until we
This
get
one?
there. Yes.
Okay, because
Until
that's where I
it's-
thought you were gonna have dialogue at the finance level, because you also need to know how many of these properties could we be involved in? How far can this go if we set this new level?
Well,
for-
whenever these mistakes happen, all I'm saying is, whenever these mistakes happen, the organization must present us either with a copy of the Federal Form 990, or I really prefer a copy of their letter of determination according to the IRS. I know this because I've done it for my fire company. You get a letter of determination, and anybody around here that knows that's involved with a tax exempt organization will have one of these letters of determination. We get a copy of that, then we should approve this. Right now, the school district has not seen that.
Right. There's one other issue that when you take that into consideration, Jim, as I'm reading this, is there retroactivity on this tax exempt tax dollars? In other words, because these people were rolling, because there's on another one, the property's being rolled over to a tax exempt agency, we're basically relieving the previous owner, who was not a tax exempt agency, of the taxes that they had outstanding at the time that they sold this property. Is there retroactivity beyond the actual date that they went to settlement and became a tax exempt, it became owned by a tax exempt entity
No,
on any of these? Because
no.
the date period for it is only at the beginning.
All right, moving along, the personnel.
Okay, no report. The only thing I'd like to say is again, Don, wish you well with personnel, and I appreciate the fact that you are keeping the committee with the same folks. I was very comfortable working with you and Vince, and I think one of the most important things on personnel that can't be underestimated is that from time to time, well, especially in a large district like this, very, very personal information and details of one's lives come forward within the personnel department to the personnel committee. And if you don't have a committee that has the capability, the honor and integrity of keeping those details confidential, it ruins everything. It ruins relationships, it ruins reputations unnecessarily. I'm talking about the very personal details, not the public information you're entitled to, but those things that are of a personal, human level. And I know with Vince and Don, we don't have to worry about them sending off faxes at midnight or doing crazy things with people's personal information. And it was always a good feel for me to know that these men were honorable and trustworthy with other people's details. And so I appreciate you keeping that information together, that team together, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you, and wish you well.
Thank you. Of course, the Personnel Committee meetings are not regularly scheduled. They're scheduled as needed. Community Relations, Policy, and Intergovernmental Affairs, which I chaired during the past year. In our last meeting, we discussed a number of things. One of them was related to the new daycare program that we're initiating under the guidance of Ms. Betty Robinson. And we have to continue that work as we're moving ahead and hiring a person to run this program for us. The other item that came up for discussion, which will have to be taken up at the next Community Relations meeting, is the policy related to the pregnancy issue that there's been a lot of dialogue and discussion on, and that will have to be, it's still at the committee level. I've had some numerous phone calls, and I assured everybody it's still at the committee level yet, discussion. From there, it has to move to a work session, there it has to move to an action meeting. So it's a long ways from being enacted. So that'll be the other things. There are a number of other general policies that will be coming up at that time, it's my understanding. Mr. Shapinsky, you have a time for your meetings?
Yeah, the next meeting, the Community Relations Policy and Intergovernmental Affairs Committee will be Tuesday, January 25th at 6 p.m. Right now, the tentative agenda is going to be the pregnancy policy, the update on the before and after school program, and additional security policies, personnel, students, and behavior.
Anyway.
Last thing, Beth?
And behavior, student behavior, staff
Oh,
behavior.
students. Amen.
Any other
I thought you
questions?
meant board behavior.
Oh,
I have
give
a
up,
question
give
for
up,
personnel.
give up.
You have a question of personnel? Go ahead.
Yeah. I want some clarity on where we're going with the Director of Human Resources search as it's going to be performed by our solicitor, because as I had it explained to us, I know Mr. Bartle wasn't here, but I think Mr. Taylor was present. It was explained that if this was just for the purposes of advertising and receiving applications and then...
Vicki, why don't we just let Mr. Bartle, who's heading that program, fill us in where we're at. Mr. Bartle.
Yes, well, since the time that, excuse me, that this matter was assigned to me, we have, I have had some discussions, obviously, with members of the Personnel Committee concerning this. We've also prepared and advertised the advertisements for the position in various publications. And they are all listed with a return date for applications to be not later than, I believe, the 24th of December, I think was the, that's right, Bob? Okay. Well, it's not later than that, doesn't mean you can't do it before that, but that's the end of the period.
That's a good timeline.
Yeah, it was a Friday, so that seemed like a good day. So we have received several applications thus far. They are all being forwarded to this building, to the attention of the superintendent, I believe, is the way we did the ad. So I have received just yesterday or today from Bob's office a packet with about 3 or 4 applications in there. There were a couple that had been received before that time. And as I understood the assignment, I was to go through the applications and to interview the ones that made sense, and then make a report to the board.
Well, that's where I saw, I didn't get the letter directly, Frank, I don't know why, but I didn't have one, but I got one from someone else that said about interviewing, and as I understood it, because there were a few questions raised right here at the table, that it was going to be the front-end work that was there, taking in, drafting the advertisement for the qualifications and et cetera, placing those ads and receiving the applications, and then at that point, it was coming for an internal process for the search criteria, and that, you know, all applications would be coming forward to the board. And by that, at that point in time, we developed the process. And I was a part of an affirmative vote on that. But we asked, Pat and I and a few others asked for some clarity as to what this process would be.
Well, I can only tell you that I spoke with members of the Personnel Committee, and that was not my understanding. My understanding was these, the resumes were being forwarded to me for the purposes of reviewing.
Frank, I don't think I can hear you back there.
Excuse me. My understanding is that the doesn't move. Okay. My understanding is the resumes were being forwarded to me for the purposes of reviewing them and then doing appropriate interviews. That's what was communicated to me by the committee. If that's not the case, then I guess I'll hear that. But if that's not the case, then there's really no reason to send them to me, because the applications are being received here, and you would merely be sending them to me for the purpose of sending them back to you. So that
Right,
doesn't
well,
seem to
that's
make any
why,
sense.
that's what I'm saying. I thought you were to receive the applications, and then we were going to have an internal
No,
search for the
Frank-
personnel, and I know there was dialogue, I know Mr. Mosey asked questions, I know we took a board vote, so now if we take a vote and then later it comes down to 3 people changing what the meaning of that vote is, it becomes a very insecure voting process on matters of personnel. And I just know that it just,
Let me
there
clarify.
seemed to be a point, the whole purpose, they said, was for us as a board to have a cleaner process for us in involvement.
Let me, let me clear it up for you, the way it is. What Frank has said is correct. As all applications come into the district, they go to Frank for his first review.
Okay.
He does a cursory review, he looks at the validity of the reports, he does the interviewing, he does what is necessary. If there are some applications in there that are completely, don't fit the bill or don't fit or some way they're just not worth bringing forward, they will die at that venture, but the information will be brought forward to the district. Once he goes to this selection, he'll make his his thought process of what and how he ranks them, and then they'll come to the superintendent, and at that time the superintendent will review them, and the board will come in that process somewhere during that time frame. Until Frank has finished his work and they get back to the superintendent's office, then we'll decide how we're going to proceed from there. That's where it stands right now.
Well, I'm just concerned that it becomes such a narrow pool of candidates that,
Oh, no, I'll provide the district with everything that I
We'll get
receive.
everything from there.
I won't throw out any
I'm
applications.
just saying this was
that,
running contrary, Frank. I don't know how it was
yeah.
communicated.
But there
to you
will
outside
be an explanation with respect to candidates that are not interviewed. I would tell you why I felt that the particular application was deficient, and all other candidates I would interview and give you a report.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay,
Is there anybody?
I have one other note that he may not be aware of. I did ask Mr. Taylor when this was assigned that night, if he would please forward a copy of the advertisement when the qualifications were determined, so I see what was the information contained in there, as
Yes.
well as the scope of advertising, and he said fine.
Yes, that's been.
He said fine.
That's been provided to the district.
Oh,
Matter of fact, it's in the
okay,
newspaper. but-
didn't come to me.
Okay,
Okay.
We'll get it out tomorrow.
Could somebody forward that on to me, because I did ask to be able to see that.
Does any other board members have a problem with the process?
No.
No.
All right. That completes all of the committee
Mr.
reports.
President,
Yes.
just one other question. Is it the intent of Community Relations, along with Ed Services, to meet on a particular Tuesday? We're looking for the fourth Tuesday or the last
We're
Tuesday?
shooting for the last Tuesday of the month for community relations at 6 p.m. And we'll finalize that calendar at our first meeting.
I want to call to the attention of the board already knows this, but to everyone else that's present, is that there is a new committee being formulated this year. It's called the NPEA Contract Review Committee. As you know, next year we must begin our negotiations with the teachers union to develop a new contract. We're sure it's going to move smoothly and easily, and they're all going to be agreeable, and it'll be very quick. But prepare for that. We need to know beforehand what our needs are and what changes are needed, and how did the contract work over the last few years. So there's a lot of groundwork that has to be done. And I've asked Ms. Mengel and Mr. Shapinski to be on that team, and of course the whole board will be involved in this process, but I need somebody to head it up and get this process started. So that's just for your information purposes. I'd like to move right along, and let me read the preamble or the tonight's meeting is our regularly scheduled action meeting, which is obvious. This meeting is being videotaped by community cable channels. Individuals attending the meeting and intending to speak to the board should be aware that they are being videotaped. In addition, when you come up this time, is that on the counter thing, there is a place to write your name and address. We want to make sure we get your name correct and your spelling correct and your address correct, but sometimes we don't pick it up for it. So if you'd be so kind as to fill out that form when you come up. In order to meet the requirements of the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law, it is necessary to record the names of all citizens who speak to the board during this meeting. To assure compliance with this requirement, it is essential that those planning to address the board come to the microphone and state their name and address. Members of the audience are asked to limit their questions and comments to no more than a few minutes. This will permit time for all those who wish to speak to the board. Whenever members of the audience exceed the time limit, the board president may ask the individual to yield the microphone to the next speaker. With that, I'd like to move ahead with the audience of citizens. Would anybody like to address the board at this time? Seeing no hands, we'll move right along to the superintendent's report.
You
We
scared
have
them
a plus
away.
report.
You have to write their name.
Yes. Before we move to the motions, Mr. Hill asked me to share a few good news items in the district every month. So I'd like to report that North Penn High School sophomores Paul Laura and Joel Reiner both won a $5,000 college scholarship for their participation in the ThinkQuest Internet Challenge. These two students, along with a student from Parkland High School, designed an educational website that placed third in international competition. Their website, entitled SLR Photography Online, is dedicated to education and appreciation of the fine art of photography. We congratulate those students. In addition, Pembroke student Sarah Reister won second place in the 8th grade category of the 1999 recycling poster contest. She will be a guest at an awards luncheon in Harrisburg, where she will receive a $200 scholarship. Cheryl Digman, a 7th grader at Penfield, was named one of the 2 state winners in the U.S. Postal Service Stampin' the Future contest. She created a postage stamp design that was chosen out of 120,000 designs nationwide. And all of the 40 North Penn High School thespian troupe students who recently performed at the Pennsylvania State Thespian Conference were selected to showcase their talents at the International Thespian Festival in June. The troupe members performed or presented in 16 different state and international individual theatrical event categories. On Monday night, December 20th at 7 p.m., the community is invited to attend the dedication of the North Penn High School Natatorium in honor of Rick Carroll, former teacher, swim coach, and director of Community Aquatics Program. And an announcement that I'll repeat a number of times, but on April 5th, 1999, the district has scheduled the first annual Tech Connect Showcase to highlight
When?
April 5th, 1999.
1999?
2000.
2000.
Don't be afraid to say it. World War II.
Connect.
Tech Connect.
It's a time machine. We're going backwards in time. We're calling it the Technology Connection, Tech Connect Workshop, and what we want to do is showcase to the community the investment in what's being done with the technology that's been adopted over the past 2 years. We'll also involve local businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, et cetera, to come to invite them to the showcase, and we hope that the community turns out. It'll be held at the high school from 4:30 to 8:30 p.m., and there'll be demonstrations by each of the buildings. We'll have a booth, but also our students as far as projects, how they're applying technology to their learning, and really keying in on what's been the basic premise of the whole technology adoption is how can we use technology as a tool to improve learning. So we're excited about the program, and I'll repeat it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before you start the reports, I want to emphasize, you mentioned the dedication on Monday evening, the 20th, at the high school. What time was that? It was scheduled for?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. And Ms. Donna Mingle will be representing the school board at that because of her sports activities.
No.
We could have the athletic zero.
Let me clear up a few
Past
things.
sports
Not that the sports activities isn't correct, but at the same time, this fine honor is being given to Coach Carroll. There is the annual Christmas banquet at the VOTEC. And every year, Don Hill goes to the banquet, eats often, and takes more than his allotment of Christmas cookies that are baked by the students there. So as president, he should be at the dedication to Coach Carroll, but he had Carroll cookies. Okay, so I'm sure he'll send a nice little note to the coach, but he's going to be there at the VOTEC.
Thank you for those kind words.
Thank you for the accuracy.
Okay,
Superintendent, go ahead.
Superintendent's report. 4A, recommend approval of tuition status for students whose names are on file in the Office of Special Education and Student Services in accordance with Board Policy 5118.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Prokowski and Mr. Gordon. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So ordered.
Recommend approval of the revised 1999-2000 school calendar to add an additional in-service day on Tuesday, April 4th, 2000.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Mr. Gordon, Ms. Prokowski, any questions?
Just one. I had asked about consideration of the March 10th half-in-service day. Don was going to get back to me to see whether it was practical or not.
We looked at it, and Don can add to this, but when we talked to the principals, there were a number of activities already scheduled. Probably the one most important is at the high school, they're going through their, what's called accreditation for growth, which is another term for, I'm losing it right now, Middle States evaluation. And they had already planned to utilize that day in order to prepare and finalize their report. So we didn't want to take
Right.
that away
In
from
case
them.
you didn't all understand, it happened that March 10th was one where we already had a half-in-service for all 3 levels. So instead of this dilemma of taking away the 25th and the 4th, I said, there's a half-day in service, it's pretty convenient, and this is how we ended up with this one. Missed
Any
that.
other
Just wanted to check.
Yes, yes.
Yes, go
All
ahead.
right.
I cannot support this change. I like the change because of what we want to use it for, but we fought for years to get additional instructional days for our students, and now we're taking one away for convenience to have an in-service day for our staff. Both ideas are very important. I'd love to support both, but the education of our kids was our primary business. We fought to get the additional day, and now we're giving it back to the teachers for an in-service day, which I'm sure could be, great purpose. But I just want to know, I want to let everybody know I can't support this because we fought it took us years to get 2 additional educational days for our kids, and now we're about to give one back, just for convenience sake.
Vince,
It's not worth it.
when I first addressed this, I said I was one of the people who fought very hard, and I voted against calendars year after year because of looking for more in-service days. But I never sought those in-service days to have a teacher standing in front of a half-empty classroom making busy work. I was looking for that additional instructional days as a quality day time. And the dilemma we're finding ourselves in, we know April 25th isn't going to be a quality educational day because it's already been scheduled as a holiday. You didn't want to have school on April 4th when it's election day because of the safety issues and the traffic going in. So, if April 25th was a practical day to expect at least a 70% enrollment, maybe there'd be a point to that. But really,
I don't disagree with you.
to
but
pay-
You're dealing with 2 separate
But we
issues.
have
They're
no
both
other option.
quality issues, they're both decent issues, and I agree that there's not a lot to
We
say
have
about
no way
it.
of-
Yeah, I'd love to have it.
This was
as a-
question
I'd love
on the
to have it
motion,
as
not a
instructional.
discussion.
Let me interrupt.
Right, I felt the
That's
same
fine,
way he
but
did,
I
except
hear the
that
two
I don't feel
viewpoints.
there's a chance for it.
Does any other board member have any comment on this calendar?
I'll call for the question.
All right, thank you. Let's have a roll call vote on that.
Allen.
Yes?
Gordon.
Yes.
Mengel.
No.
O'Donnell.
No.
Prokowski.
Yes.
Scher.
Yes.
Schilling.
Yes.
Sherpinski.
No.
Hill.
Yes,
Motion carries.
moving along.
C, recommend approval of transportation contract as listed.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Schilling, Mr. Gordon, any questions? Was that Mr. Allen?
That was Mr. Allen.
Mr. Allen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
D, recommend approval for the security staff to begin photographing all staff members for photo ID badges.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Schilling, Mr. Shapinsky, any questions? Mr.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes. I have a question.
You can tell this wasn't a work session.
Mr. Gordon had his hand up first time.
Okay.
2 questions, and this could be already senior moments. Who's on this, the Safe Schools Committee right now?
No one, it was disbanded December 1st.
Okay, if we get this back together again for future considerations of safe school stuff, can we get student involvement if it wasn't involved before? At least get the representatives of the student body at the high school level involved?
Actually, we had Vince Cotter extended an invitation, I'm not exactly sure who it was to. We did have staff from the high school. We had quite a few members. To be honest with you, I think that was offered to them. I don't know if they actually took it up, because we never had anybody come.
We didn't have any students attend. We had representatives from the police departments, administration, homeschool visitors, MPEA, cross-section of administration there.
Was student government invited?
To be honest with you, Bruce, I can't recall.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is a lot of the concepts and ideas that we may be going to in the future, certainly this first level is photo ID badges for staff. If it gets down to student level, if we start talking about closing doors and things like that, that is going to directly affect student life, I'd like the students to be able to give us some of their input and to have them on a possible future reconvening of that committee, I think would be important.
That'll be a consideration.
Okay, one other question here. The system that's mentioned for use with this badge system was purchased back in 1967. What is the expected life of that system? It's been my experience.
76.
Excuse me?
76.
I'm sorry, 76. What's the expected life of that system? It's been my experience that if we spend the time and resources doing all the staff badges, if the system breaks down and we end up needing to get another system which isn't consistent, we may end up spending these resources all over again to redo everybody's badges.
It's one of the things that we had talked about administratively. Is there a better way to do it, not only for breakdown of equipment, but also if you're going to take people's pictures, is there a way that we can keep them on file so that we can, and again, we're thinking computer disk, so that we can easily replicate them on an annual basis by either doing a different color and therefore eliminating replication. So we're looking at the present time, that's the system we have. However, we're looking at alternatives to that would make more sense and be more feasible for us. And that also was discussed at the Safe Schools Committee, that we were looking at both systems.
Any idea beyond the cost, the quoted cost of this expenditure, how much time and resources we're looking at to do this task?
Doing the time, John, what do we get? Very, very easily.
We figured several weeks for staff.
Spread out over time.
Spread over time.
Right.
Okay.
And then the idea would be, as we hired new staff, that would be part of the new hiring practice, so that equipment would be located probably somewhere in this building, so as new staff were hired, they would get ID badges.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Allen?
Well, Bruce touched the one thing. I think we ought to have more students on this, getting involved with this program as it starts hitting the student level. But more importantly, it seems like we're going real fast and doing some things, but we haven't heard any discussion about why we're doing it and what our problems are and how we want to solve them and how are we going to get what we're doing to solve the problem. And I'm afraid we're just going kind of piecemeal of doing things that sound good and look good, but what are we doing? What are we thinking? What are we planning as an overall philosophy of what we're trying to do, and why are we doing it?
Mr. Shipkinski,
And I'd like us to have some discussion, not tonight, but at facilities or whatever committee Don assigns it, of an overall security aspect of physical and procedures and policies and all the different things that go into this. Because I don't want us wasting time and wasting money on things that aren't compatible or aren't going to be enforced or aren't going to be part of a staff-type education and enforcement type issue.
You mean like the motion on the floor, or do you mean something specifically like this? I mean, this to me is like, this is like really basic. This is like assigning social security numbers to babies at the hospital. I mean, I can't believe, I mean, it's hard to believe, here it is, almost 2,000, and, you know, we have all these staff, and the young ones coming in from college look like some of our seniors in high school.
I know this, but if everybody has this is not the big issue right now.
Oh, okay, all right.
But there's a lot of other things that have been talked about, but if everybody has an identification badge,
right.
So what? What's the point?
Well, I can answer
What?
that.
But it's a start, I mean.
Let me have
they
Vince.
No,
just
but
sort
my
everyone
point
out.
is,
Well, no,
Let me interrupt.
your comments are well taken.
there's a lot of other things that have to go into this.
There are many things that we have dealt with in Safe Schools Task Force. We've tried to incorporate our prevention and intervention with enforcement. This is some of the enforcement part which North Penn has lacked. Anybody who read North Penn Life a few weeks ago can tell you the problems we obviously had in people entering our buildings and not having staff know whether they should challenge them or not because they might be staff. This was one of the main issues that we dealt with, and unfortunately for us, we dealt with it before that happened. But, it takes time to make recommendations. We would like to take it to the next level. We will make sure that we incorporate everything in a comprehensive plan. That's what we've been working on. It's not piecemeal. This is all stuff that we felt we worked out in a very detailed plan. Our physical security agenda is 3 pages long. I mean, you guys have all had it sent to you. Bruce might not have, but
I'll take
everybody
a
else
copy,
has.
please.
I mean, and it is something that we do discuss. Lou has spearheaded a lot. John has spearheaded a lot. I mean, going down to the basics of ID badges or signs on the building or identifying exits. So at the high school, if we have to send an ambulance somewhere, we can send it to a door where they can find. I mean, this is pretty basic stuff. But it is going to be part of a huge and comprehensive plan. I mean, that's all part of intervention and prevention and enforcement.
But what I'm trying to get at is, we haven't, take this the right way, but we haven't justified doing anything yet because we haven't identified the problems.
Well, that's not true. We have at the Safe Schools Task Force, we've discussed
Well,
even with the high
maybe
school
we need
principal.
discussion with everybody, okay?
You've
That's
been
all.
copied on everything that we've been given.
We'll get copies and everybody have a copy. Make sure that Bruce gets a copy.
Does everybody have a copy?
Done.
Should have gone out.
I'm going to ask, as the work progresses in this area and as the work continues, I'm going to ask that this work, as it comes to the board, it comes to the Support Services Committee, which you're on, Bill, and Vince is on, who's worked on the committee, and John has. So I think that's where it belongs, under Support Services, as this additional work come along in that committee level. Yes, Vicki?
I kind of agree with Bill. As I thought about it, I thought, is there the problem in the schools that those who need to know can't identify the staff? And Vince, I understand that story looked very damaging, but there's another way too that could have very well happened. After a few years of having a divide between the community and the schools began to open itself up more, became a little warmer and receptive to parents, and it may not have been someone who didn't know who Kerry Beavers was. It's probably someone that's seen his face and knew exactly who he was, but in a trusting school environment, that person walked by believing that.
And Vicki, that's not an excuse why you've been able to enter so many schools and do so much. Obviously, we have a problem. We have a couple of things tonight. The common sign-in ID at schools, the identification of our staff with badge. I mean, we plan to do some real basic stuff here, so it makes it easier to stop that kind of stuff.
I personally understand.
You don't want to have people wandering through our buildings without identification.
Every time, if everyone's, let me try to have my point taken. With the common sign-in badge system for all the visitors in the school, that's clearly understood because that gives us, our staff, the message that if you see a face that is unfamiliar, they should have a badge on. If not, you stop them to find out why they're there. The staff, for the most part, you take Mr. Voloshin and the rest of the security guards, they don't need a sign on Janet Kratz to know who she is. They don't need a sign on most of our regular staff to identify them as staff and to know their staff. Our new security guards within a month, I think anyone that's working more than 25 hours a week, they have identified, and they know who they are when they see them, or at least they know they belong.
I can call the question.
Wait.
Were we getting
This
off here?
did not come to a work session. That's why I asked at the beginning, because I knew you people would be impatient and not allow this to have the dialogue that it really deserves to have.
There's a call for a question. I need a roll call on that.
This should have been on a work session agenda then, instead of canceling the meeting last week.
Vicki, I have to interrupt you because the question was called for.
And-
Who's in favor of the, I need a roll call on the question.
Allen.
What's the
This-
question?
Yes, to proceed with the vote.
Then you absolutely deceived
No.
me at the beginning of this meeting.
Gordon.
No.
Mengel.
Yes.
O'Donnell.
Yes.
Prokowski.
Yes.
Scher.
No.
Schilling.
Yes.
Sherpinski.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the motion before the board is recommend approval for the security staff to begin photographing all staff members with ID badges. Take a roll call on that, please. Roll call on the main motion.
Gordon.
Yes.
Mengel.
Yes.
O'Donnell.
Yes.
Prokowski.
Yes.
Scher.
No.
Schilling.
Yes.
Shapinsky.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes?
Hill.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Just to interrupt you, just so we voted on the motion and not what it says 3 lines above. It's for staff members, because up here it says, and regular volunteers and other adults. I'm only voting yes on for staff members.
For staff.
Okay, just make sure it's clear. So that somebody in administration doesn't start handing them out now.
And just to reiterate what I said, this is going, all of this stuff related to security is going through the Support Services Committee. That's right. And further work on that or discussion of that, or you have concerns about that, bring it to that level, and work can be done on it. Move ahead.
Will there be enforcement policies forwarded to us? In other words, three warnings without your staff badge and you have a detention, or you're assigned somewhere? Or, I mean, how are we enforcing this?
After we pass a policy, the administration drafts regulations, and that's their job, yes.
So they're gonna, the question was never asked, was this for the purposes of simply having ID for certain events, or is the staff gonna be required to wear them?
Well, that'll be at the committee
routinely?
discussion. Moving ahead.
It's not a part of the business of the...
Letter E, recommend approval of implementation of a common sign-in ID badge system for all visitors in all 17 schools.
So moved.
Second.
A lot of names there. Mr. O'Donnell, Mr. Shapinsky, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. So ordered.
F, recommend approval to upgrade the existing security radio.
Don, you have to call for the opposed on that list.
Opposed? So ordered.
F, recommend approval to upgrade the existing security radio system to a cellular private call system.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Schilling, Ms. McCrosky, any questions?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Shear.
On the green sheet, it indicated that the security radio systems, the cell phones, were being used to replace the walkie-talkies of our security officers. This doesn't have any number of security radio or cell phones inside the motion. There's no indication of what we expect the total cost to be limited within the motion. So essentially, it's an unlimited motion in that regard. And I've seen nothing to say beyond the security guards, which we have, which is about 12, I think, John, correct? We'll have 12 with the 3 new ones on board. Who else will be a part of receiving this new cell phone equipment with their talk packages? Where will those cell phones be going?
Mr. Shapinsky, can...
I'd prefer that to Mr. Strobel. We have other additional staff at the high school.
I did indicate there were 30 units that we were
Right.
looking at. Assistant principals and principals in secondary buildings, along with the security people. They would receive those units for private call.
There isn't 18 of those, right? We have 12 identified for the security guard. Who are we expecting to need cell phones?
13.
Yeah, okay, and
Is
who
this
else?
for middle schools too, John?
Yeah.
Yes, secondary.
There's your 30.
Each of the elementary schools, principals are having a cell phone?
Secondary.
Middle.
Secondary.
Secondary.
System.
Any other
13
questions?
administrators and 12, that's 25. That's what I'm asking. And you said 30 cell phones with 30 talk packages.
It actually says 25 to 30 right here.
Becky.
Well, I read the green sheet and it had numbers on it.
We always need some spares anyway.
There would need to be a base unit at the high school where security is based out of. So that would be an additional unit.
Any other questions?
Are we putting any maximum cost into this?
Any what?
Any maximum cost or any confines whatsoever on our identification to what we're voting on except for a radio system?
Well, I'm sure, I'm not sure of the process here, but I think it says approval to upgrade the existing systems. I think they're going to go out for bids and go out for a price, and I assume I don't know if that'll come
The
forward.
figures that you see there were one quote that we got. We know that we can actually do the system at that cost. We believe that it is cheaper if we go out and solicit.
Are they going to
quotes
come
from
back?
other
It will
vendors.
come back to us, John?
What's the price?
Is it?
I don't know that it would have to.
It wouldn't
Units-
necessarily-
Units are $3,076.
It's a purchase, they'll come back to us to vote on.
Do we know whether or not maintenance agreements are normally with this? With these
You
cell phone
should take it.
packages?
For these phones, you should take it.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Gordon, you had a question?
For clarity of the public, I'd like to amend the motion to read that we are requesting the upgrade of the existing security radio system to a cellular private call system to include 25 to 30 units at a cost of approximately $3,076 for the units with the chargers and holsters, and the talk packages for $16,200. That is my amended motion.
Does the gentleman that approved the motion, was that Mr. Schilling? Who made the motion?
Schilling and Frankowski.
Do you accept that
I'll amend my motion.
amendment? And second? Okay.
Thank you.
The motion before us now has been amended as written. Would you read it to us back in its
Can you read it again?
total?
We recommend the approval to upgrade the existing security radio system to a cellular private call system to include 25 to 30 units. The estimated cost, based on 30 units, would be $3,076 for the units with chargers and holsters, and talk packages of $16,200.
All those in favor say aye.
Yeah, Mr. Solicitor, the talk package cellular assignment he's talking about for $16,200, that's a service that we're going to subscribe to after we get the phones. Is that something we need to bid because of the amount of money? Or is that a service, a supplied service, just like our regular Bell Atlantic phone bills or other things?
Give me that again, I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand your question.
The second part of Bruce's amended motion is the cellular contract for $16,200 for the time allotment monthly for all these phones.
Yes.
What my question is, because it's $16,200, is that something we have to bid as a service?
Yes, I think that is something that you have to bid. That's not a professional service that would be exempt.
Right.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
We have one no. So ordered.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I'd just like to make a comment. Do we have anything in place so if they go over the 30 minutes that we'll charge the employees for that?
No, our understanding was
It says 30 minutes cellular, but we regularly go over at work and we charge the employees because they don't realize how many minutes they call home.
It's unlimited private use.
30 minutes
And
cellular.
the 30-minute is outside use, beyond the scope of the normal private call system. It was a package deal, and we were able to pool those 30 minutes for each phone.
That would be
charged.
That would be for emergency calls, and
Outside the
we would have a log of those as well,
Right.
so.
The 30 minutes.
We could charge.
The 30
as we
minutes
do for
is
regular
the-
phone bills.
Okay,
But for further clarity, Frank, do we have to bid that?
Yes.
thank you.
Item G.
G, recommend approval to begin the bidding process for a closed-circuit TV system for the North Penn High School campus.
Second it.
Mr. Schilling, Mr. Shapinsky, any questions?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Allen.
Is this just for the outside of the building?
Yes, Mr. Cotter suggested that, and we agreed with him after review.
Any other questions?
Just related to this matter, I'd like to say also that there was discussion at the VOTEC regarding security cameras. The attitude there, the majority of the superintendents there also felt very strongly that while they're in agreement for exterior, a closed-circuit system to surveil the properties, very much strongly opposed to the impact it could have on the inside environment, adding them into the hallways and into the general areas of the school. Mostly a matter of demoralizing or the image of the building that occurs when it begins to appear like a high-risk area. So I'd like to say in that area, please keep that in mind. That was also a spirit that was seen there, and I'm glad to hear this is external.
Any other
security.
questions?
Yeah, just one comment. Mr. Gordon, Mr. Cotter had many meetings with students about that. And that was
I would
the
have thought there would have been
recommendation.
very strong feeling. I heard some feedback. They didn't believe I was telling them the truth. You know,
All those in
security-
favor say aye.
Aye. You need a place.
Opposed? So ordered.
H, recommend approval to purchase a 1995 Buick Regal from First Union Auto Finance Incorporated at a total price of $7,050.50.
So moved.
Mr. Shapinsky, is it?
Does this become
Gordon?
Bob's permanent car? No.
Any questions? Any snide remarks?
I'm having a hard time giving it up. I've grown accustomed to it.
All those in
Why are
favor
we,
say...
wait, I
Yes.
do. I just want to understand. Why are we getting a 1995 from the First Union Auto Finance?
It's the car that I currently drive.
Yes, his whole car.
Oh, and
Another
you're
vehicle
purchasing,
Drive
you're
So's own
purchasing
car.
it rather than turning it in on the lease purchase?
It's the district,
District purchasing
for
it
security.
Needs
Just a
the
great
high school
ride.
for security vehicle replacement.
Isn't this stuff on green sheets?
Yes,
Yeah, it was in the green sheet.
It's on the green sheet, right?
yes.
Okay, just checking. Just
All those in
checking.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
I recommend acceptance of the following gifts to the district from Gwynnor, to Gwynnor from Intel Foundation Funds for Technology in the amount of $500.
I moved.
Second, and thank you.
Ms. Prokowski, Mr. Schilling, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Recommend award of the following bids. The first one for elementary school land cabling
Why don't we group them together?
and replacement of the PA intercom system at Nash and Penfield.
So moved.
Mr. Schilling, Mrs. Mengel, any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
John, did this come in below what we expected? Yes. Significantly? No.
You had a winner go in there, you should have left it.
Yeah, well, I was hoping, I mean, I know it came in under, I don't know how far it went.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So ordered.
Under personnel, recommend approval of the following personnel items, nominations.
So moved.
Mr. Gordon?
Second.
Mr. Allen? Any questions?
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Are we going to start hiring people with master's degrees instead of regular bachelor's degrees? So we now bring them in at $45,000? Is that what we're going to start doing?
No. And the process is to bring in teachers at the beginning level where possible. In some regards, some of the positions do require a master's, and sometimes that, but we do look initially for those that come in at a bachelor's.
Okay, we have a guidance counselor with a master's. So
Well, to be a
even-
guidance counselor, you need to have a master's degree.
All right, I thought I had heard that before. And same thing for English then? I'm sorry, we're making a long-term substitute on that one. Okay.
Any other questions?
Question?
Yes.
Who's handling personnel right now? In other words, if you have a personnel question in general, who for the most part is taking care of the?
Depends on the situation. Actually, I would say the cabinet, in a sense. We've split up the duties between all of us, and mainly
Well,
it runs through all of us, but Don and I.
Let me answer that for you. If Mrs. Shear or any board member has a question relative to personnel, direct them to you or to Don
Right, but
Donovan,
in general,
and she'll
I've
get an
had
answer.
just general people that if they had a question regarding personnel.
Call Don or
Is there any
call-
one person that is generally the primary
Call Don or
contact?
myself,
Okay.
and we could direct you in the right place.
Okay.
John Gould and knows everything
John, absolutely.
Go there first.
He's studying the agenda.
Yes, go ahead.
Can someone explain the difference for a temporary professional employee and a long-term sub, and how we arrived at payment for a temporary professional employee?
Yes, a temporary professional employee is a state-designated termination for any employee who is, has a contract and who is not tenured, because it takes 3 years to be tenured. That person then is placed on the contract at the appropriate degree place. A long-term substitute is a person who comes in for another teacher who happens to be out for a specific reason. And if that long-term substitute is in for more than 90 days, as our board policy states, then that person is also placed on the teacher's contract at the appropriate place, usually at the beginning level.
It can't be usually at the beginning anymore. Wasn't there a recent court ruling that now said they have to?
Not for long-term substitutes who are just coming in. And that court ruling is something that I believe you're going to be getting more information on from our labor people. We'll keep you informed.
Hasn't been finalized yet.
I just realized I had like one or two more questions. On a part-time technology secretary, the ESC, it says new position.
Yes.
I knew we were going to replace, I had heard a month or so ago, we were going to replace a person. Is this a new one? Like we're adding it?
This is a halftime, yes, that we added for this year under the technology plan and through budgeting.
Did we budget for it?
Yes.
And it's just for this school year.
All right.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Recommend approval of the following personnel items, retirements.
Second.
Mr. Gordon, Ms. Shear, any questions? All those in favor?
I have a comment.
Yes, Ms.
Where are we?
Ms.
I think that's where I have a comment.
On retirement, you have a question?
Retirement, is that just retirement for professional staff or everybody? Carl Church. Carl Church has been the custodian at Penfield for as long as we've had our PAC meetings there for our blue and gold banquet and our Olympic night and stuff. And he has just been outstanding. We have 200 people coming in there at least, and he just goes out of his way to make it a good night for us. So I just want to thank him. I might. But I would just thank the
Very good.
He's
It's
been
always
excellent.
nice to note the work that people have done for us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Recommend approval of the resignations as listed.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Gordon, Mr. Schilling, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Recommend approval of the position changes as listed. D.
Ms. Mingle? Mr. Gordon, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So ordered.
Recommend approval of the following personnel items under salary changes.
So moved.
Mr. Gordon, Mr. Schilling,
Question.
any questions?
James Williams, the position math, North Penn High School, is that the backfield coach for the football team? I thought that was an elementary position.
We have two with the same.
Same name? Okay, thank you.
Or you would find that.
I was kind of looking for your resignation.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Recommend change of contract as listed under F.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Allen, Mr. Gordon, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Recommend approval of the leave of absence listed under G.
So moved.
Mr. Gordon, Ms. Mingle, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
H, recommend approval of the leave of absence effective date change.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Allen, Mr. Schilling, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Recommend approval of leave of absence extension.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Prokowski, Mr. Schilling, any questions? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? So ordered.
K, personnel, recommend approval of the professional and support staff substitute list for the 1999-2000 school year.
Ms. Mingle,
Second.
Ms. Prokowski, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
3, recommend approval of additions and changes to the extra duty assignments for the 99-2000 school year.
So moved.
Mr. Schilling, Mr. O'Donnell, any questions? Yes, Mr. Gordon.
Someone answer for me? My kids weren't able to. What is homework club?
It's one of the activities that are common in elementary schools where there's a teacher and several students who want additional help after school, and that's how we arrange for it.
That's good.
It's a working mother's dream.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Recommend approval of salary increases for degree improvement for professional staff as listed.
So moved.
Mr. Schilling, Ms. Mingle, any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Isn't there certain times you can only bring these things forward?
Yes, there are under contracts. The two individuals that are listed here sent in their materials without explanation. So the people in the office, from what was explained to me, did not know that these people were applying for degree improvement. When they called the office after the original degree improvement money began for the contract, they said that they didn't understand where theirs were. And we traced it down to the fact that we didn't have, the papers that they sent us were original transcripts, which normally when they get in the office are filed immediately in people's folders.
Okay, so it's just our mistake.
It was both, yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
5, recommend approval of theme readers for the 99-2000 school year at the contracted rate of $8 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Prokowski, Mr. Schilling, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
C, recommend approval of Francis J. Perry as assistant principal at North Penn High School at a salary of $73,879 effective February 14th, 2000.
So moved.
Mr. O'Donnell. Mr. Allen, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
L, recommend student travel as listed in BA-11.
Mr. Gordon? Mr. Shapinsky?
Question?
Yes.
On the student travel, a couple things. One is the students at United Nations building. This already occurred. Was there not a chance to bring this before the board? I understand this occurred on December 10th.
This is a ratification, yes, it should have stated that way.
Okay. The other item is, where appropriate.
Did we say something wrong?
Yes.
Yes, just say yes.
Where appropriate, could we determine or have it delineated for us what classes where it says students from a particular school are attending travel? Is that appropriate?
I can give you that detail. We tried to make it somewhat consistent in terms of what groups of students. We typically identify the number of students from the school. And don't go into too much detail depending on the organization. If you're referring to a specific school, for example, number 2, that just happened to be a 6th grade class trip. We could specify that if the board so wishes. In more detail, we'd have to.
Well, what I want to ask is that the student travel, which has always been a question because it's quite extensive, is that since these committees don't have a lot to do, I'm going to ask that the Educational Services Committee review, if you'll get it to that committee, just have them review it. If any questions related to these things be brought forward at that time, so time gets to the board level to take care of.
Thank you, Tara.
Add that to that list.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Travel number 5. What Broadway play are they going to see?
Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, they have picked one out this time.
That's wonderful.
Chaperone going with them?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Under informational items, the vandalism report is listed for December. And under other business, recommend approval of North Penn.
No, we did that.
Did that.
Go to A.
Oops, we did, yes. B, sorry. Recommend approval to nominate H. Bruce Gordon to the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit Board.
So moved.
Second.
Well, that was good.
It's a movie prize, that's why.
Did he ask for
Any
this?
questions?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I did ask for it, and I'm looking forward to it. We need to represent ourselves. We haven't had
Yes,
a
we
seat
do.
on that board for the last year.
All those in favor say aye.
Equal
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
C, recommend approval to appoint John Schilling to the North Monco Technical Career Center Joint Operating Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mangle, Mr. Al, Ms. Mangle, Mr. Allen, whatever.
You're on there now?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
D, recommend approval to appoint H. Bruce Gordon to the North Monco Technical Career Center Joint Operating Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Schilling, Ms. Bukowski, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
E, recommend approval of Malley, Falconero and Company as local auditors effective July 1, 2000 through June 30th, 2001 at a contracted fee not to exceed $14,000.
So moved. Second.
Mr. O'Donnell, Ms. Bukowski, is there any questions?
Yep.
Yes.
I would like to ask that whoever does the audit signs the audit. I looked for a signature on the one we got before. I couldn't find it.
There should be one on the first page. Usually they'll sign mailing back.
Mr. O'Donnell will
Well,
take care of
who's-
that.
We'll take care of that.
Who
We'll
or
take
what?
care of it.
He'll take care of it.
We'll take care of it.
No,
They
a
sign it.
person.
The person signs it.
Malley Falconero, is that one person?
It's, one person of the partnership is authorized to sign.
Is authorized to sign their
Okay,
name
yes,
or
there's right
Malley
here.
Falconero?
On the right-hand side up top, usually they'll sign mailing Falconero. They're authorized to sign that.
I don't want the company name. I know what the company name is.
No, it's
I want to know who looked at it.
There was a signature.
A group of auditors.
You want the name?
There is an author, there is a signature, isn't there?
Get her a list of who the
So if they
auditors
have, I'm not sure, so if they have 7 or 8 guys and a couple part-timers and.
Well, list
Jim?
the auditing team, at least let us know
All
who
right,
the
all right.
auditing team is.
All right. Okay.
That'll be taken care of by the Finance Committee. They have nothing else to do.
I have a question.
Yes.
Frank, what was
Sorry,
the-
Alec. And if he hadn't signed this, his bid, I wouldn't have.
All right, Ms. Shear.
Frank, at the committee level, you were talking about proposing them for both here and the North Penn District Authority. What, did you find out if that's under the authority of that district authority?
Right now, we're just approving
We're
the
just
factor
going
there
this
to be
route.
just the 14,000.
Did you
That's all
find
I'm
out what
gonna-
the
That's all I know
situation
right
was?
now. That's all I know right now.
Okay, is there any changes being made in their process or in this contract from the last previous agreement?
I read it, and I fell asleep, then I woke up, fell asleep, and woke up. It's one of those documents you fall asleep. There's no changes if you pull out last year, the year before, and the year before, other than it talks about a year 2000 or Y2K compliance.
Right, about making some exceptions there. Okay, whatever happened to the idea of a full audit that you were talking about proposing for this year? Change of heart?
I'm
You
sorry?
said you wanted to have a fuller, more complete audit of the district's finances. That's what you would propose?
I don't remember, but I'll tell you what, we'll bring it up under first finance meeting.
And you said you wanted to see what it would be for them to make more substantial forensic review. You felt that it should happen every few years. That's what you had last said, right? Guess when we were looking at a changeover of finance
She's talking about-
department.
She's talking about Frank's proposal.
This goes back to the Finance Committee to discuss, but on the motion, on the table,
For these services, we can negotiate further from that point on if there should be a change in the
One
scope.
question.
Go ahead.
Okay?
Jim, this audit will include all the federal reports and all the paperwork,
Correct.
and they do it all, right?
And that's a substantial undertaking.
Yeah, I know.
all those in favor
Well,
say aye.
wait, There's one change in language here, Frank?
I did type it, so don't ask me to
What's wrong?
All right, I'm sorry, I was trying to find this, I knew there was something different. The reports on internal control and compliance will include a statement that the report is intended for the information and use of the audit committee, management, specific legislative or regulatory bodies, federal awarding agencies, and if applicable, pass-through entities. That's always been a public report. I didn't think it was, I don't remember ever having that language that was so limited in scope.
Well, I can't attest to your memory not having any language. All I'm saying is, I approve this. Oh, I can't approve that.
Well, because it's
So
just
we're approving
listed
the
in set
$14,000.
rules.
All right.
Is the
Okay,
purpose
well,
of
we'll
approving
follow
it
up
right
and
now,
check.
just to schedule these guys so that we don't lose the
Right.
ability to bring
That's what the
them in?
purpose of this is. Let's get into queue, or else if we don't, we're gonna lose it.
Can we bring back changes should that become necessary, or
always
finance
change
committee make
anything.
recommendation?
Signing a contract.
I'm just trying to get this guy scheduled so we don't lose him.
It's fine, but if we're paying for it, then we're signing a contract, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Solicitor, so we're gonna accept the wording that's been presented.
This is,
to us.
Bruce, you know, this is standard wording, there's nothing wrong with it.
I have never seen that
Sounds like a line
before.
from Marx Brothers.
All right, let's have a roll call on this.
We'll vote for it.
Let's have a roll call. Get over it.
Just a new line.
Mingle,
I never
Yes.
read it regularly.
O'Donnell,
Yes.
Perkowski,
Yes.
Scher,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Sherpinski,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving along.
F, recommend approval of a waiver of real estate taxes on parcel number 35-00-10927-00-9 in Hatfield Township, which was purchased by the Colmar Volunteer Fire Company, a tax-exempt entity, and to refund the taxes paid at settlement totaling $482.17 for the period of September 17th, 99 through June 30th, 2000.
Mr. President, I'd like to request that the motion be removed until we get the letter of determination that proves that they are a tax exempt
Motion
organization.
table.
Right, I make a motion to table.
Second.
We have a motion to table and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So ordered.
Thank you.
G, recommend approval of a waiver of real estate taxes totaling $1,979.45 on parcel number 14-00-02984-00-8 in North Wales Borough, which is being purchased to be used as open space.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Schilling, Mr. Gordon, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
I don't own it.
I was going to ask.
I want it on the record. I'm a little sensitive about accusations.
Yeah, Mrs. Scher has a question.
Oh, Ms. Shear had a question? I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Yes, what was the question?
Mr. Saris, do you have an effective date on this one as we had with the other? This one again seems it's a pretty high balance
Purchased it, yeah.
to be exempt for an open space, and this is again the one that I was trying to verify that this is this doesn't have retroactivity from the previous owners, because it seems pretty strange that we have a waiver of $1,979 if this property has just recently been transferred.
Why don't you just make a motion to put it off until we can get, because it's to be used as open space, so just make.
Well, I don't want to just do that for the heck of it. If there's a reason, I think we should. I'm telling you that this seems like a pretty high balance. That seems almost a year's, well, heck, on $129,000, I can tell you whether it's a year's taxes. It just seems to represent pretty well close to a,
Don't you think if it's wrong?
15.76, right, Jim?
How would it be wrong?
Yeah, it's pretty close to a full year's
About
taxes.
right.
Yeah, I don't have the,
And I know I asked you earlier, did either one of these have retroactivity, but how is this, has this been sitting in limbo for a year under a tax exempt status, or are we assuming taxes? And the townships are taking on this attitude of asking us to waive taxes that we should have really had collected a year ago.
Right.
Just-
The issue on the floor about this particular property is if we're forgiving someone else's
Right,
taxes that the
that's
borough is
exactly.
trying to avoid paying.
Or
That's part of
that's
the
why they
purchase
got the property. Sometimes these
They might
properties aren't
already
even
owe
worth
us
the
$1,900
taxes.
from some other person.
Is there a
And-
motion
and-
to table this until we get it cleared up?
And then
Yeah,
they're
Motion to
waiving
show
our
the
taxes,
table.
and we're
Yeah.
losing money that that
Second.
person owes.
Second, Mr. Gordon.
What was the motion?
Motion to
Motion
table.
to table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Finance report.
Mr. Sowers.
okay, as an informational item, the treasurer's report for this evening as of November 30th, 1999, which totals approximately $67,901,747 on deposit and invested on behalf of the school system. Next item, we need a motion to approve the disbursement report. Total expenditures to be sanctioned of $6,523,008.39. Total disbursements to be approved of $1,304,059.48. Grand total of $7,827,067.87.
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Allen and Mr. Gordon, any questions?
Jim, all of the Fund 10, all the pages listed Fund 10 are all general fund disbursements, correct? You know how you've got general ledger on one page and then it just goes Fund 10 after that? All of those are general, identified as, they would be general fund disbursements, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And then we have the community education program ledger, correct? Now, what are we doing about the disbursements for the food service enterprise fund? How do we vote on those?
The disbursements for the food service fund is part of item D, or the food service accounting statement, so I guess it would be included therein.
But we get a report, and we never vote on that report, and we never get check register disbursements. We just, is that related? Should they be here at this point?
Well, for this evening's presentation, we do have the cash disbursements journal for the food service department, so I would
Have we gotten that?
suggest that would be under item 6D.
Well, we've never gotten them in a year or so.
This is-
Okay, they should normally
This
come
is part of the
under this
accountability
part.
that we've been asking for, and it's going
Right.
to continue. So we will now be voting on
This
this
is the
tonight.
portion, and it should be listed as we have the rest of them listed, and we haven't been seeing check registers for over a year.
That's true, we've never seen them, and we're now getting into this in many other areas, and this is what I've asked Mr.
Okay,
Fowler
I
to
wanted
do.
to be sure what we were voting right now, if we were bringing that to the table, because it was an issue that came up earlier this week.
All
That's
those in
fine,
favor-
I'm ready.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered.
Item 6C-1, recommend approval of budget transfers in the amount of $13,752 for the 1999-2000 fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gordon, Mr. O'Donnell, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered.
Item 6C-2, recommend approval of budget transfers to correct the salary account line items in the budget in the amount of $2,300,741 for the 1999-2000 fiscal year.
So moved.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Second.
Mr. Gordon, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered.
Item 6D, the food service report as of November 1999, which details $965,420 of total income. net operating loss of $121,641 as of November 1999. Total lunches served to date, 408,456 for 19 serving days in November of 1999. Total breakfasts served as of November 1999, 45,402. Inclusive with the food service activity is the cash disbursements journal, which lists out the various check disbursements or accounts payable activity, totaling $187,077.08. So I would suggest we need a motion to
Any
approve.
questions?
We don't
food
have
services.
No. This is the other, this is the check disbursement slips that we developed, and I don't have that. Do you have this, Bruce? Is it in the folder?
It was right here when I got here. Tonight, I had it.
I have these two.
Well, we'll make sure you get one.
No, I assume she doesn't.
Well, that's all right.
There's
There's no motion.
Oh, I can't do this.
Don, do you have any report on federal, state, or other programs?
I have no report to
Why not?
There is nothing to report.
Oh, okay, good reason. Solicitor report, wake up.
I
Pay
have no
attention.
report, Mr. President.
Good report. Is there any other board member have anything to bring forward at this time?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned, so moved.